Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is your home for, well, it's kind of like, when the turkey first comes out of the oven and you uncover the turkey and it's hot and fresh. You can't do anything with it, so it cools down a little bit. And then you walk into the kitchen and your mom or your dad or your uncle or your auntie is cutting that turkey, slicing it, and you kind of sneak up behind them and try to snitch a little piece. Oh, it's so good and warm and moist and just delicious. That's right. That's what Daily Dose Radio is like. It's warm, delicious, it's yummy. 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week. We study here the Psalms verse by verse, looking at verses 15 and 16 today. Again, let me just give you a public service announcement from Daily Dose Radio. These are pro-life. This is all about life. This is about God's hand in life, in creating life, in sustaining life. It's not hid from Him. He does it. It's His work. You can't escape this. And I told you yesterday the psalmist comes hard on this subject. He gives us 4 verses out of this psalm. And, again, remember, we said last week that when we did verses 5 and 6, and we talked about the seamstress, we went to the seamstress hall in 5 and 6 last week because we were hemmed in. He had made us. He had set His hand upon us. And the psalmist says, well, this knowledge is just too wonderful for me. Well, he returns to it here, and we said that he was going to. He returns to it here in verses 13 through 16. And today we're looking at the last 2 verses. Let me read those for you. My substance was not hid from thee, when I was made in secret, and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect. And in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. That's verses 15 and 16. First of all, my substance. I prefer the translation here, bones. My bones were not hid from thee. So the Lord sees everything. And of course, that's how we began the psalm, isn't it? Remember when the psalmist said there in verse 1, you have searched me and you know. You even know my sitting and my rising. You understand my thoughts from a distance. My path and my couch you sift. All my ways you intimately know, for there's not a word on my tongue. Behold, O Lord, you know it completely. Well, of course He knows. But now the psalmist says it's not only my ways, my thoughts, my actions, my motivations that the Lord knows. He knows my bones. My bones were not hid from thee when I was made in secret. Again, let me ask the question, who's doing the making here? The Lord's doing the making. Yes, sir. The Lord marvelously, wonderfully, fearfully makes us. And curiously wrought. Here we go back to the seamstress. Let's go back to the hall of the seamstress. Remember, we talked about last week her sewing the 2 pieces of material together, binding them together with a hem. And here this word that's translated curiously wrought means to be woven or embroidered. So the Lord again is weaving. He's making something. And He's doing it in the low part. He's doing it in a place that's hidden. That's the mother's womb, isn't it? So here we are being woven, hemmed together. The Lord is doing this embroidery work that He calls a human life. And then verse 16, thine eyes did see my substance. And the reason why I'm going to stay with substance here is because we have a different word, and I believe it's better translated substance than what we had in 15. 15 is the word for bones. In 16, I think we should translate this substance. Yet being unperfect, and in thy book. The Lord has a book, and we've talked about the book, and we've talked about His bottle, and we've talked about those places where the Lord keeps treasures. So here we have His book again, and all the members are written therein. He knows every single part of you. There's not a piece that He doesn't recognize. He doesn't know it intimately, because, again, the theme of God knowing is all over this psalm. Which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. This is just life. It's, God is the one making things. He will be glorified in the human life. He will be glorified in the creation of everything that He makes. Blessed be God. Tomorrow, join me for verses 17 through 19 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.